Hey, welcome to your next best step with Brett Cockrell, the locker room for purpose-driven leaders. This is where we slow down, reflect, and we take our next best step through real stories, practical strategies, and rooted leadership wisdom. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, even the best leaders need a coach in their corner.
Well, hey, welcome to your next best step podcast, the Leaders Locker Room. And I am so excited to have a friend, but initially she was a coach. And I always say, every coach needs a coach. And Aundrea, you came along at a perfect time when I was transitioning, and you were such a positive influence. You helped make what was like crazy. You gave me some clarity in kind of two different settings. And so I am grateful for you to be on the podcast, but just want to welcome you, Aundrea De Leon, and welcome to the locker room. You are in Denver.
I am in Denver.
I'm in Buffalo, and it's cold in both places.
It's cold and snowy in both places today.
It is. And
Breck, I remember meeting you the first time. I remember the very first time meeting you.
Yeah.
It was the very first live Business Made Simple coach training.
Yes, it was the coach training. And we were down in Nashville.
Yeah.
And I've always been a back row Baptist.
But you participated. It's not like you sat back there and hid.
I did participate, but you are not going to ever find me on the front. Will be in the back, and it's so
true to form. I know, and here we are.
And I will say this: congratulations, your Broncos are just crushing it.
Thank you. They finally, I feel like they earned that game. I feel like they finally, man, we're excited this season. It's been fun to watch them. Yeah. They got a good team. The Bills are not doing terrible.
We're not, it feels like we take a couple of steps forward and 5 backwards.
My son-in-law texts me, we text back and forth during the games.
Yes.
And he's just like, I don't know why I watch them. I love them. I don't know. It's just
why do I get pulled into this emotional trauma? Yes. I get it. That's how we are. We've lived here in Buffalo. People say, how long have you lived in Buffalo? I said, well, let's see. We've lived here now 24 and a half seasons.
Yes.
So that's how it is, Buffalo. It's not years, it's football seasons.
Yes. I empathize. I can empathize with that. Well, we haven't had a season like this since Peyton Manning, left. And so we're not hating it. In fact, my husband just asked me today, he's like, we're wearing Broncos sweatshirts this weekend, right? I'm like, yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Well, it's we got to get all gear up and all of that. But Aundrea, thank you for joining today. And one of the things, we had a great chance to get kind of caught up, and there's so much going on in your life, and we could talk about that. But I'd like to go back and really kind of start your story. Really, I connected with your story. It resonated as you shared your story at a little bit at in Nashville, onboarding, I don't know, 70 or so coaches that were there. Business Made Simple.
54 that time.
Was it 54? Yeah, I knew it was a room 54. Full. Yeah. And you shared, and then, on monthly calls, we would call in and you would share some of your story. And it always encouraged me because, I'm I've had a couple of different transitions. First, I was a high school, college basketball coach till I was 35. Loved that. Thought that's all I would ever do. And then stepped into a different kind of coaching, stepped into the church world. And
Yeah.
I didn't know I would spend that much time, but I spent 25 years in church ministry. The last 17 of that, um, planted a church here in the city of Buffalo and did that, loved that. But then I really felt over COVID and I was headed towards 60, right? Like I knew that there was something I needed. I knew that what I was doing was not what I needed to do or wanted to do for the next 10, 15 years. Went back to school, um, and transitioned out of pastoring and then stepped into a whole different world and started a coaching business at the age of 60. And you were there. You were one of the first guides to help me process all of that. And I'm so grateful for that. And you did a
Oh,
wonderful job. And I know you did that for so many others, but that's my story. And so I'm so grateful for you and the encouragement that you gave me during that time and still do. But how about sharing with our listeners just a little bit about your backstory, what you're like, the world you're living in now, because you've had some transitions. And
whew.
so kind of give us a little bit of a backstory on that.
Yeah. Well, so you said you had your transition at 35. I just tell everybody my whole life was a big transition. I, um, I, so the long story short is a lot of people don't know is I actually grew up, unadopted in foster care.
Mm,
And so I don't even feel like even my corporate life or career life is there. Like I had a transition in my mid 20s where I finally said, I'm going to stop being a wild child. I was doing bartending, office management, bookkeeping. Like could figure out anything under the sun. And I was so good at figuring it out and people would keep me around and I'd do more things. And I finally, about my mid 20s, I said, you know what? Um, God hasn't killed me yet. Don't know why. I was kind of hoping multiple times he would, and he just didn't. And we can have that conversation another day. But I said my mid 20s, I said I want to be a positive contributing member of society.
mm,
And I always, like, even in the middle of all the chaos of life and everything else I did, my happiest times and best times were always when I was involved in things that made things better for others. So I always tried to play like I was a team sports girl. I didn't want to play solo sports. It wasn't fun for me. Always on the team sports. Um, always always in school when I did go to school and decide to pay attention and do well, I was always like, oh, you don't understand that, let me help. Can I help you understand? Like always wanted to help other people win. And so finally in my mid 20s I'm like, you know what, I want to be and feel like a positive contributing member of society. So I put myself through school, went to school, got a bachelor's in computer sciences, and went into the tech world and spent 22 plus years in the tech world. And I'm so unbelievably grateful for the experiences that I had and that I got. I got to work with some great companies. I grew up in UPS, IBM, and a big chunk in American Express,
mm.
and started kind of in the more developer tech world and transitioned into more tech, more program management, project management, program management, and then into leadership. And so climbed the corporate ladder, loved my career. I was going, VP, CEO, whatever. I was on it until 2017, and I had to close a company down.
Mm.
And I spent an entire year letting people go, laying people off, and sticking around until we shut the lights off on a
Wow.
company. And for the first time ever, my husband had been an entrepreneur for a number of years already. And I just thought this whole entrepreneurship was pretty much a shit show. Can I say that? Am I allowed to say that? It was pretty much, I was
Were
like,
were you creative types, right?
were you creative type?
Yes.
Yes. It was a disaster. I'm like, there's no consistency to it. There's no structure to it. Like, right. I'm like, and so I was always the Miss Corporate, hold the things down. And suddenly I found myself, I I had other job offers. Um, I had other places to go, more career. But what I found was, I remember thinking at the time, I was like, I got into tech because when I started, it helped make life better for people. Like
Mm,
we were doing things that made people's jobs easier or made their companies run better, this
mm,
or that. And I said, I remember telling somebody like, I feel like we're hated now. And I feel like we're the most hated department in the company now. Like we're a necessary evil. And I'm like, and that's not fun. And one of the I think probably the hardest thing for me was, and in that particular role, I felt like I kind of hit the peak of finding my people leadership in that role, I think. And
okay.
I remember going into that department when I got hired, and I got hired specifically. They were like, we don't need you to focus on the technology strategy, et cetera. We've got that with, with this. And I'm like, great. They're like, but we need you to make the people in the department and the teams better. And I'm like, great, I'm in. I can do this. And we did. And I call it like the nanny Mc people hire. I'm Nanny McPhee, right? People hire me. There's really good people there, but there's bad communication. There's challenging relationships. There's tension. There's all this stuff. And they know it can be better. And it's not that they have bad people. It's just something's going on that's
Yeah.
causing this. And I just remember that, it was about 3 years, and I walked into that role in my very first 2 weeks, I had to fire somebody. And
Mm,
I was like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. This is how this is going to go down. Like, and not a great, like, and then you're walking in as a brand new leader, and your very
yeah.
first 2 weeks, you have to fire somebody,
Oh,
right? And now everybody's on pins and needles. Like, first of all, you're a female in a very male dominated environment. It's, cutthroat, A player type of, kind
yeah.
of environment or whatever. And I just, it was the very first test in there. And I was, anyway, so we had worked so hard to get the right people on the team and get the right processes and structure to support them and get them to give them what they need to be successful. Also focus on how we run the team, things like that, move people into the right seats. We had people that were in kind of, management roles that they were really better individual contributor roles, not really great
Yeah.
managers, right? And we made it so that we finally got the team to a point where it's like, look, we're going to make clear what expectations are for people in their roles. And we're going to make it possible for people to meet those expectations if they want to. And we had people that didn't like that and decided to opt out. We were like, okay, we understand, but it made great for who we're bringing in, that kind of stuff. So I think it was like after this team was performing so well that it's like kind of the Nanny McPhee. They really didn't need me anymore.
Mm.
They were all working together well. They were self-solving problems. I mean, they were literally coming to me to ask me if I could order pizza. So because they were going to have a team meeting because they were going to work
Yeah.
through this problem together. Can we order
That's the
pizza? I'm
only
like,
problem you've got is
that's
like,
not the only problem. Or
ah,
they would say, hey, we really need this from this department. Can you go talk to them and open a conversation for us? Like they would always send me out. They learned that I'll go break down the hurdles. Like,
yeah.
let me go break down the hurdles. If you need me to have a conversation with a department or we need to get somebody else on board or something like that, like that's what they'd send me to do. I'm like, great, you guys are operating awesome. Then the company comes along and says, we're dissolving, we're selling our book of business and dissolving. And so I think it was the longest goodbye of my life.
Mm.
And I just was like, I can't do this anymore. And so I decided to make that leap and transition right into entrepreneurship and business ownership when I had never wanted that responsibility
Uh,
before,
yeah.
ever. And I did kind of what I call a year of failing forward and a year yes. And I just said yes to lots of things and tried lots of different things. And I found my way into hypnotherapy, and I found this new process that could help people make rapid change and win. And
Mm.
I loved it. And I was like, this is a ton of fun. I'm leaning into this. So I went full bore and went in, built probably a ridiculously successful hypnotherapy business, probably really fast. My husband tells me, he goes, Andrea, you do things at the speed of, he goes, you do things faster than most
Most.
people do.
I could,
It's like you figure stuff out
yeah.
and move faster than most people
Yeah.
do. Um, and I had this great business going. COVID broke out. Everybody's business suffered, but I
Yeah.
was still like figured some things out, shifted some things, still was going, I was still going strong. But a couple things happened. Um, Two things kind of happened. Number one, my clients ended up being a lot of entrepreneurs that were first time, uh, had to hunt for their own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so there was a lot of money challenges, confidence challenges, things like that.
Yeah.
So I do a ton, I do this awesome, amazing transformational work with people on the internal things that would get them really amazing results real quick. Then I'd send them out then into their business world. And I'm like, oh my God, your business is a disaster. Like, you
Yeah.
have no process, you have no structure, you're just winging it every day. How do you live? Like, business is simple. It's just a set of systems that like things flow together and things, my project manager and me goes,
Yeah.
this
What a
is how things
combination
break down.
that you
Yeah.
had to bring to entrepreneurial spirit. That's
Yeah.
that's
It's
incredible.
just right. It's like, what's the flow? How do things flow? And it's kind of like, what processes are things going through, et cetera. So my clients kind of push me into, I'd send them out and I'm like, tell me about your sales process. And they're like, what's a sales process? I'm like, that's okay. I had that same thing happen to me, but you've been at this longer than me. So we should know this by now.
Yeah.
And what I started finding out, there's like a couple things. Number one, there's no handbook on how to be your own business owner.
Yeah.
There's probably a bazillion handbooks now, but like it didn't kind of break it down and say, like, let's just make it a simple system process. There were all these things. And the second thing was that and I fell for this at the beginning. I had three business coaches in my first 6 months of business. I made $0.
Mm.
And I was like, people are just making this stuff up.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it wasn't until the second part of it wasn't until I got myself right, went, hold the phone. What do I want to do? How do I want to be? What fits me and what doesn't?
Mm.
Right? We kind of go into this, oh, I should be doing this. Oh, I should be doing this. Oh, I
Yeah.
should be doing this. Oh, this, so, right? We get this whole, we're bombarded now. Like in the corporate world, it's real simple. There's just these simple, like you can, and you in the pastoral world, there's just kind of certain
Yeah. Roles, expectations.
goals,
Like this is what
expectations,
we're
like
supposed to
org
do.
charts. This
There's
is how things
rhythm
do.
to it. Yeah.
In the entrepreneurial world, it's all made up rules. It
Yeah.
is all made up rules. There are no rules. They're whatever rules we make up is what exists out here. So with that in mind, I had to get back to, okay, hold the phone. I have to stop outsourcing to all these other people that they know more me, et cetera. That may be true, but it's my ultimate responsibility to go what fits me and what doesn't. And as soon as I started doing that and said, I need this now, the right coach, the right thing would show up and I would get that, help me build the next step of my business. And I constantly bombarded, people are like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. I'm like, that's great. Happy for you. This is where I'm headed. This is what I need next. And I just started taking one more intentional step instead of just like kind of grasping at straws. Um, and when I did that, it's like I learned the right next step and I learned the right next step. And it's then I'm invested in the right thing that turned into the right investment that gave me momentum. Like things started snowballing. But all along, I'd go do stuff. I'd figure it out. I'd be successful. It'd be great. I'm making good money. And then I look around and I go, but where's the rest of the people? Like,
Yeah.
and I knew that there was a part of me that doesn't do well if I can't bring others along.
Yeah.
If I'm just building something and being successful and it's just me, like that doesn't work for me. kind of like positive contributing member of society, there has to be something for others. There has to be a win for others somewhere in there. And so then that kind of, that led me into more doors, more roles, and I ended up going into business coaching and getting involved in, Business Made Simple community, first as a community member, then as a coach, then running the community. And yeah, so that's it. There's just been so many different doors that I've been down since 2017, and now here we are. Now here I am again, going, okay, what am I building? What's my intention? So,
Well, I know. Thank you for
been
that. I know.
a ride.
Last year at this time, we were just talking about this. You had stepped away from Business Made Simple and working in that community and all that,
Yep.
and so you started really honing in because we had had several conversations, and so I was like, Aundrea, I just, I've always been kind of a geek on leadership. So I've always, Zig Ziglar, John Maxwell, all of these. And so that's always been a part of my makeup. I love all of that.
Yep.
And then I went back and I got, a master's in executive coaching and consulting, and through university, through the Townsend Institute, and they were ICF certified and trained.
Yep.
So International Coaching Federation, which is a very unique, it's a gold standard on this is how you coach. And so I did 18 months on this is how you coach. And it was so different than, first of all, I'd been a coach. But and then I always was more coach than pastor, if I'm going to be honest.
I was probably more coach than leader. Looking back at my corporate life, I was far more coached.
Yeah.
I was more influential, people focused,
Yeah.
how do I get, more coach like versus command and control type leader.
And
So I can empathize.
I always wanted to develop the people who I had influence with. I wanted to develop them personally and see them grow. And so I had all of that, almost 40 years of experience in that. And then I go to school and I'm hearing Dr. John Townsend. And it was so, I wish I'd have gone through that, what it did for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an amazing, and I loved every second of it, but it also exposed to me like, oh yeah, when I think I'm coaching, I'm not coaching, I'm preaching, I'm telling somebody, I'm not listening, I'm not attuning, I'm not. And so I had some bad habits early on, so I'm grateful for that, right? And so then I literally, while I'm finishing that, I go and I onboard and get certified with Business Made Simple.
Yeah.
And now that's that's business coaching.
Yep.
Talk about, impersonator like complex. Like, I'm not a business guy. I've never, so I'm, I told you this before, like a CRM, Don's talking about getting a CRM. I had to literally Google what's a CRM. And I'm like, I'm in a group of 50 people. And I'm like, am I the only one that doesn't know what I guess I think I am. It was all of this going on. And so I step out of that, I go full time. And then, one of the things that you and I talked about, and I said, I've got all of these, I don't exactly know who I am anymore as a coach. I've got all of these influences that I'm trying to fit, but they don't fit. And that's why you're that accelerator, that 90-day accelerator is so helpful for me, because you did the why, we went through it, and it gave me language and an understanding. And I was able to kind of like, okay, this is who I am. And you started to explain something. Can you walk through the why? Like, I would love to hear, like, I think listeners would like, this is something that is really helpful. I'm using it with clients now, but explain a little bit about what that is.
Okay. Well, you heard me talk about in my story um, that anytime I gained momentum, I shut down all the outside stuff
Mm,
and I go, but wait, who am I?
mm,
How do I operate best?
yeah.
And what's most important to me, right? How do I work? What motivates me? What makes me happy? And what fits me? And I think that is the hardest
Mm,
question at times to answer, especially like you just talked about it, Breck. Like at 60, you're doing this whole new thing, right? And we've got all this stuff. Well, we have all these decades of being out in a role or being a person or being a thing, doing these things for others. We forget and lose sight. Who am I really?
yeah.
And it was interesting because in my mid 20s, I had this thing it always stuck with me, positive contributing member of society. And I knew that was like, it was like it wasn't just a thing I thought, it was how I ran.
Mm,
And it was interesting because I let that lead me when I led my career growth happened more successfully when I also tuned back into that. Do I feel like I'm being a positive contributing member of society the way that I want to be?
mm,
Am I being a positive contributing member of this team, of this company, of this, right? And so I was always kind of able to come back to something that I knew it wasn't my hair color and it wasn't the shirt that I wore and it wasn't the team jersey. It was the engine that was running inside of me that I knew would either light up and ignite on fire or shut down and putter out if
mm,
I wasn't in attunement with it, right?
yeah.
And so, same thing in my entrepreneurial career. It's, am I getting to be this way in a way that it fits me or not? And so, what I found with people is, as I started coaching and business coaching, the very first things I would start asking them is I'd start saying, okay, I don't want to know about your business until I know about you.
Mm,
Who are you? How do you operate? What is your strengths? Like, what's your zone of genius? Like, etc. And we've all taken, most of us have taken, like you did Townsend, like we've all taken things. Like I discovered strengths, like that. Thank heaven in my corporate career and that couple of my last roles, I discovered Strengths Finder and I was like, oh, so if I lead people to use their strengths instead of trying to morph them into somebody that they're not, I'm going to get better performance out of them. They're going to be more fulfilled, right? Well, same thing in the entrepreneurial world. You want to come back in, you got to get back and kind of know who that core of you is. And it's hard because we go get our certifications, we go get training, we go get education, we go collect all this stuff.
And we have social media now, and
And we have
it's
social media that's just
comparisons. It's like just crazy.
out of
Yeah.
control. Well, you sat in a room with 54 other people that are all on their own journey, right? And we're all as humans sitting there comparing ourselves. Well, I don't know what that word means. I must be something wrong with me. Like there's just all of this judgment happening all the time in the world around us. And I just when I started working with my clients, I just started kind of, taking them through some things, their strengths or just some of these kind of personal discovery things. But as soon as I started focusing on them and go, wait, I have a philosophy. My whole philosophy has always been, if you're not being a good leader of one, you're not going to be a good leader of any.
Mm,
You're a leader of one or you're a leader of none. Period. End of
inconsistent.
sentence. Right. And you just talked about that. You went through Townsend Institute and how much that gave to you and then what you could give back. Right. And so I always go, your business is a reflection of what's going on here. And if you're avoiding you and you don't know who you are and that kind of stuff, your business is just like pin the tail on the damn donkey
Mm.
because you're just taking somebody else's idea and putting it here, putting it there, etc. And so a few years ago, I had this guy reach out to me and he said, "Hey, we have this awesome, amazing tool that really helps you understand who your clients are and um, how to coach them better." I'm like, all right, cool. Well, I'll take it. And it was this thing called the Y operating system or the YOS or the Y discovery. And so I took it and my results came back and it said my why is contribute, meaning that my motivation is contributing to the success of others. I love championing other causes, other people, et cetera. And I was like, check, that's true. And then how I process kind of my internal processor, my how is make sense. And make sense is the ability to literally like ultimate problem solver, take in voluminous amounts of information, and help people like understand it easily, kind of pick out these threads. I could always find patterns and things and go, well, if you just do this, this, like we should be able to move forward. And simplify. Love simplifying things, love getting rid of extra steps. I love focus. I love getting rid of noise and stuff like that. And I'm like, yep, that's me. And I can tell you that's me because here's the stories I can tell you.
Yeah.
And my family can tell you, my kids will even tell you, oh, yeah, if it's too complicated, mom's out.
Yeah.
She's not going to do it. Like, if you want to tell me a story, give me the highlights. Don't give me all the details. Or I have to be in a patient mood and not in the middle of work to listen to the full details kind of thing. And it's funny, Breck, because you have the same profile I have.
I know. That's when I went through it. I'm like, but I think that's why I resonated with you so much because I'm like, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
and
yeah,
when I went through it and
yeah,
I saw that word contributor
yes,
attached to my name, I
yes,
went, yes, I'm,
yes,
high school, like as a point guard. I
yes,
love being a point guard. I love
yes,
helping other people succeed. I love distributing.
yes,
I've always loved, and even though I've been a lead,
yeah,
I haven't, that's not necessarily like I don't have to lead, but I
right.
do know if I'm not contributing, I'm shutting down.
Yes. 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 Exactly. And so when I got that, I'm like, man, this is cool because it took me years to know this about myself and describe it in different ways. But this one thing in like 10 minutes gave me words, just like you said, that I was like, yeah, this is my secret weapon. Right. And I remember when we went through this with you last year because like this light bulb, what I heard from you at this light bulb is like, you love the team. You do this with leaders, but you do it for the benefit of team. And if it's not focused with team, it's not for you.
Yeah.
Right. And so anyway, so this person
Well,
says to me,
to your point, it's really helped me because it narrowed my focus on who I want to work for, who I want to work
yes,
for.
it answers your question.
Yes.
Who are you serving? You
Yes.
don't have to go do 20 hours of market research and all this other stuff and this, well, I think I like this, I think I like that. You immediately go, this is who I like to serve. So it tells you who you are. It immediately tells you the services you love to offer and who you love to offer them to.
Yeah.
And so,
I
so fast.
actually, Andrea, I stepped out of a coaching with a client because of that. I was not serving like so now I'm like, hey, I want to serve coaches, leaders who are wanting to lead themselves better so they can lead their teams better because
Yep.
everyone deserves to be led well.
Yes.
Right. And so
Yes.
I actually stepped away and I closed out that relationship because it was mostly just one-on-one stuff. They didn't have teams underneath them. It was just one-off stuff. And I got bored. Like I was like, oh, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
Like,
Your engine putters, doesn't it?
yes.
Yes. Because where's the team? Where are the people that we are doing this for and the imp, right? And I love that you said that. This one little simple tool, I need a quick drink. I'm going to get all excited here. And my space heater's going. I know yours is too. And my space heater's going in my office because I'm freezing. Yeah. So, so I started incorporating this tool called this Y operating system, this YOS discovery. And I told the guy, I'm like, this is cool, man. I'm going to use this. And so I used it with a couple clients. And so my very next clients, I'm like, great, we can help you with your business. I said, okay, before we start working on your business, the first thing we do is we focus on you. Who are you? How do you operate? So I have everybody take this discovery. I have them take this Y operating system discovery, and a couple other things. And I let them find themselves again. Because we do lose sight of ourselves. We're all in the mix of all this stuff. And sometimes we just need somebody to stand on the outside of our snow globe and see through our patterns, right? And help us remember that we're in the middle of that snow globe and there's this awesome, amazing person there in the middle that has something awesome, amazing to bring to life in the world. And so I started doing this with clients, and it just completely dumbfounded me just how once this one little thing we did, how quickly business issues became able to be sorted out, right? And so started with, I just saw so many new coaches coming in, or I saw so many new entrepreneurs, and I get it. Like one of my very first business coaches, oh my God, this story cracks me up. We were 2 weeks into the engagement, and I said, I've made a mistake. I'm in the wrong engagement. I made the wrong decision. And I remember at the time, I said, your program is for people who have been in business at least a year or two. I literally opened my doors like a month ago or 4 weeks ago. I have no clue what I'm doing. And I'll never forget what this coach did. They said, well, you just have to remember your why. And then proceeded to do a Facebook Live that night about, you've got to remember your why and this and that, but gave me no tools or gave me no support or anything. And at that point, if you ask me what my why was, I'm like, because I'm the breadwinner for a small army of 6, and we're all going to die and be homeless underneath the interstate if I don't succeed, which is not a why, by the way. Yes. That is right. You and I know that's not a why. That's like, right. There's all my people and stuff. And if you ask people, why do you do this? They're like, oh, my wife and my kids or my grandkids, or you talk about people and they talk about their why, and there's all these external factors. It's not that those are not important. It's that they change. And they're not in your brain and in your energy at night when you go to sleep by yourself. No matter who you're laying next to, your loved one you're snuggled with, you're still alone in your own thoughts and your own feelings inside your own cave, right? Your why is literally, so hypnotherapy was awesome because I just figured out that people are most amazing humans and far more fun to program than computer systems are. Well, hypnotherapy is just the simple art of deleting old apps and programs and installing new apps and programs to get where you want to go now. What got you here won't get you there. Well, you got to readjust, right? So that was great. But I was dumbfounded at how hard it was, right? So this business coaches, you got to remember your why, this and that. But there's no resource, like there's no support, or these other, I did another program and it was great. I just spent 3 days in a conference room to come up with words that I love supporting people. I love solving awesome problems, and I make life simple. If I'd have taken this 8-minute thing, and it had told me this in 10 minutes or less, I could have saved myself like 10 years of frustration, right? And so I have people take the YOS discovery because it reveals back to you, you did it, how you operate, What is your, right? How you operate at your core, your true why. You have your own operating system. Well, that plays into your professional life, into your personal life, etc. And now you, like you said, you start having clients do it. Well, now I do it with the leaders and I like doing it with their teams
Mhm.
because the most misunderstood things is not that we want the same goals. We are all headed for the same goal:
Yeah.
successful business, serve clients well, right? But each person has their own unique little radio signal happening about how they want to work towards it.
Yes.
Right. And we get into these disagreements of we should do it this way, we should do it this way. And we just don't understand why somebody can't understand why the way we think. Well, the way you think is the way that you're wired. And when you have this one little diagram that says, hey, here's how I'm wired, here's how I'm going to talk, here's how I'm going to solve problems. And it's completely opposite of somebody else's, but we have to work together.
Yeah.
I can go, oh, my makes sense wants to connect dots in the makes sense. Your challenge or better way just wants to think differently or find a better way. I can hear that in what you're saying,
Yeah.
right?
It
And
helps
so
you
now,
to
yeah,
attune to yourself. It also helps you attune to your coworkers, to other
if
your
you don't know yourself, you can't make space to know other people either.
yeah.
You got to know yourself as a leader. You have got to know what are your strengths? How do you work best? And in which situations are you in? That's the hard part, right? We're in these conversations all day and stress surmounts.
Yeah.
Well, when we have less stress, we have more elasticity, right? We have more time to slow down and active listening, right? We have more time to see other people in a different way, et cetera. When the stakes get higher, when the stress gets stronger, we have less elasticity. So what happens? Well, we get into our operating mode. And it's when we're in that operating mode, right, that people are like, "Why are you being so short?" And I'm like, I'm solving problems. Like, I'm not being short. I'm solving problems."
Yeah.
Like,
What are you doing?
why are what are you doing? How you doing? Like, right?
Yeah.
But in this awareness, we have the ability to go, oh, right. My way of solving problems goes, what's makes sense? Your way of solving problems is thinking outside the box and coming up with some other solution.
So what would be so mine is a contributor. What's another what would be
Well,
some
your contribute is what motivates you.
yes.
Without contribute, there is no energy or desire to be involved.
Yes.
Right. Your how is makes sense. So you share a common. You, Breck, have this amazing ability to listen to people, hear their problems, or hear this situation and go, well, what about this, or this, and this? And then people are like, how did you do that? I just dumped alphabet soup of problem on you. And you're like, what do we just do this? And then it'll like, this
Yeah.
will work. And people are like, do you get that? Did people say that about you? Like, Breck, how do you always just like
Simplify and then bring it down to simplifying it. Yeah.
bring it down to simplify? Well, because that's the way that you operate.
Yeah.
So your how it makes sense is that ability to take in voluminous amounts of information, make it make sense for people, simplify it down, help them understand it. Um, you're always going to be a problem solver. If there's no problem to solve, there's nothing for you to do.
Yeah.
Right? Is that true?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So people just want to chat about their problems. How does that feel for you?
We're not going to chat about your problem. We got to have some purpose behind it. Like some
There
intention.
you are. People with how it makes sense are
Yes.
like, they're not going to stay stuck and they're not going to let other people stay stuck too, right? So for people who just want to unpack things, we need to be told, hey, I just want to talk about this. And do you finally have to turn your problem solver down and go,
Yeah. Like, okay,
right?
let me
Yep.
just let me be present. Yeah.
Right.
And listen. And I'm not trying to fix anything.
Yes. And
What
then
would,
you're simplify. What you bring to the world is a way to simplify things.
yes.
Get rid of the extra fluff, get rid of things, get rid of inefficiencies. Let's find the simple way forward, right? And that's how you operate. There's 9 whys. There's a 9 why framework, and people fall into one of 9. You have all 9. Everybody has all 9 in their own preferential order. And what we talk about with people is your top 3 are your why operating system. That's what drives you. If people want the best out of you, I love that you said you stepped out of an engagement because you weren't getting to be, right? It wasn't taking it the best, it wasn't using the best of who you are. And that's amazing self-awareness. There are too many people, we say yes and we stay because we're like, no, I need the money or this or that. And it's a bad exchange. It's not a health, like they're not winning and you're not winning.
Right.
It's a right, there's a bad exchange. Well, then the next 3 in your profile, because there's 9 of them. The next 3 in your profile, what we talk about, those are things that people are naturally good at. So I have your profile up. You have better way, trust, and challenge in your next 3. So you're good at finding a better way and sharing it with others. You're really great at building trusting relationships, and you're actually really good about thinking outside the box. Challenge isn't conflict. Challenge is thinking differently, thinking outside the box. You're naturally really good at those things, but they don't light you up. They don't bring you energy. They're just things you can naturally do. And they become what we call, if you've listened to either Patrick Lencioni or even Gay Hendricks, right? Gay Hendricks talks about zone of genius. Patrick Lencioni has working genius. They're your competencies, and you can get into the competency trap.
Yeah.
So if you're using the things that you're just naturally really good at, well, it's energy neutral, but what happens is it becomes energy deflating if you get stuck in there too long, right? And then the last 3 that people have, those are what we call the frustration zone, right? So yours is mastery, clarify, right way. And I know right way is in your frustration zone because you have 0 tolerance for system and process.
I still struggle with it. I'm like, oh my gosh, when can I just get it?
It is not. It is not for you. Like, man. I got you.
Well, and it's so funny because when I was passionate, I had a great team. I had a great staff.
Yeah.
And my wife would always say, it takes a lot of people to make you successful.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It is true.
Yeah.
What we know then is it's not mastery is what I call a little bit of perfectionist syndrome. Like people with mastery they go deep and broad. Like they study a lot of things and they go really super deep. And what I know is like mastery and make sense kind of conflict with each other, because make sense can just see the top level and connect the dots quickly and move on. Mastery really needs to look behind the scenes of everything. And for the make sense people, that's like slowing down the bus just infinitely. Clarify is getting all the details, being crystal clear in order to make decisions, and being able to be super clear. So they're going to give you clarify and simplify always tend to be a little bit opposite extremes, because clarify needs all the details. Simplify just needs bullet points and we can go.
Yeah.
Right. And then right way is that ability to like create process and structure and go, if I do this way, I get predictable results. And I like that. And there are people that are wired for that. But you got to know this about yourself. If you're leading people and you're leading teams, if you're leading your own business, because like you said, otherwise you're picking other people's products off the wall. We get business coaching certifications and they're all good.
Yeah.
They're all good. Like they're so good. They have good content and they have good community and they're all good. I haven't met a bad certification yet. Like there's no such thing. It's the who are you in it?
Yes.
Piece. And I will die on that soapbox if I have to, Breck. Like yeah. I'll absolutely just go to my grave on that soapbox that no matter what title or acronym or initials or, people, I see people on LinkedIn and they have like 7 initials after their name. And I'm like, I have never once had anybody question my initials after my name, except for in corporate world, because they just want to know, do you have a PMP? And then they go, yes. And they go, okay, great. Now who are you? And why should we know you? Because everybody else has has that certification too. And so this is the thing. After a year of mayhem, unbelievable mayhem, um, that I always believe that there are lessons that we're meant to learn. And God has shown me some lessons that I need to learn, and that some things I need to do. I can now come back out and kind of breathe again and go, well, okay, but I'm going back to what I believe, which is that people, it's not just clarity and it's not just confidence. It's belief.
Mm.
It's conviction. If I had to say anything, it's not clarity, it's not confidence, it's conviction. And when you know it about yourself, conviction goes so much further. And it's that conviction to say, this is who I am. Yeah, I have all these things, etc. And you've been doing that this year in like who you are and what you do. And permission to be that way, and permission to tell others that that's how you operate, so that they understand you and they go, oh yeah, right. I get that about you. I have so much more patience for my kids, for my husband. I made them take this and they're like, Mom. And they liked it. Like they're like, oh, this is cool, actually. I can go, oh, I see this in you. And I can stop for a second and go, okay, you need to do that. That's how you operate. You need to get that out. You need to think that way, process that way, etc. And if I just slow down for just a second and just let you do that, then I can go, okay, well, you think this or want to do this, and I'm kind of here. How do we want to move forward? Like, how do we want to do this? And conversations change drastically.
Yeah. Well, Aundrea, there were so many things we could talk about, and I know that you just mentioned that you and your family have gone through a lot, especially this past 7-8
Yeah.
months. And
Yeah.
and and that might be a conversation that we set up for our next time that we get together, because one of the things that I want to do with this podcast is I want to have, sometimes I listen to podcasts all the time, and sometimes they're just one-offs. I actually want to develop kind of a group of leaders, of coaches that can come back and we can have multiple conversations, because there's so many things that we could go down and talk about. But when it comes to like your next best step, what would you say to a leader that's out there, an entrepreneur, and they're just struggling, they're stuck, and I know that you can feel that, you've been there, I have, but what would you say, what would be a next best step for an entrepreneur, for a business, for a leader? Maybe they're leading, maybe they're the CEO, vice president, maybe they're mid-management,
Yeah.
right? What would you
Yeah.
say to them to help them really just take a next best step in any particular area?
Yeah. I'm always a fan of, and I've heard you say this too, in different ways, Breck, is um before you're out there pushing, if you find yourself pushing, or if you find you find yourself pushing, or you're kind of pushing and et cetera, and things aren't going. So when people tell me they're stuck, it's not because they're not doing something, right? They're doing a bunch of things, but things are not working out.
Yeah.
Right. There's some kind of resistance, or there's frustration, or there's tension, or whatever. And the first thing I say is, well, then stop, because your next best step might actually be a pause and an internal conversation that needs to happen before our next external action happens. And so sometimes the next best step is you have to draw the arrow back before it can go flying, right? So what do you need to stop doing?
Mm,
And who do you need to start being before you start taking an action,
mm,
right? Are you actually, if you want this, if you want, the CEO position, or if you're, if you want more fulfillment in your CEO, or if you have, better team, what is going on with you?
mm.
What are you thinking about? What runs through your mind? What words are you using? What thoughts are you having?
Right.
Because your next best step might be fixing something that's running amok in here before you start going and running amok out there.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm a firm believer that inside out always always wins the game.
Mm,
So if you're stuck, if you're it's like you're not you're it's not that you're stuck, it's that there's resistance.
yeah.
Something's not right. Something's not, etc. But it starts with you. Go back to leader of one. So that next best step, pause. Take a pause. Who am I being? What words am I saying? How am I acting and showing up here? And how is that impacting what's happening and showing up out there?
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
You
I,
do that,
yeah.
that,
I if you can do that, I love that. I mean, because sometimes it does feel like you're stuck, but that resistance, right? It's not that we're not doing something; we're doing tons.
doing tons, probably too
Too
much.
much. Yeah.
Well,
Looking at
that's the
too many things,
simplifying us.
grabbing too much, right? And like,
Yeah.
maybe this will help me. Maybe this will
Yep.
help, right?
Yep.
In closing, I always like to finish with this. Can you look back and think of a time where it felt like you had made a mistake, maybe gone a bad direction, something? It felt kind of like in the moment, a failure, but looking back, it was actually a win, even though you didn't really, it didn't feel that way then, but now
Yeah.
looking back, it was kind of a setup for where you're at today.
Yeah. Phew, man, I got a few of those. Um, well, I mean, you mentioned it. Last year I stepped away from Business Made Simple. And honestly, there was a period of time for me that I felt like I made a mistake.
Mm,
Like I didn't do the right thing, like that I had more to do and that I walked away too fast.
mm,
Um, and sometimes it's one of those things sometimes where you go back and you look back and you go, but what were the reasons that I was looking, what reasons did I make the choice? And what growth did I need to experience after that?
mm,
Because sometimes we step away from something and we think we're going to skyrocket something else, right? Um, and so that was one. There was another, that was one, and it took a little time. Now where I am now, well, I needed a pause to deal with some things that were happening in my like I had no clue what was going to happen in my personal and family life this year. And I'm kind of like, I'm grateful I wasn't kind of in that space because I would not have been able to show up every week
yeah,
for the coach community
right.
in the way that I was used to doing it, right? You mentioned it. We had calls every week. We had community and stuff. There is no way on the planet I would have been able to be that person in that role with
Mm,
what was going on this year. And so that was definitely beneficial. Career wise, oh yeah, got myself I have an amazing ability to manifest things, and I manifested getting this role in this company that I thought was like, I need to be at this company. This is in Denver. I need to be in this company. I got into that company, and a month into it, I went, oh man, I needed to know more before I got into this. Um, I got into a company. I left American Express. I went to work for this mining company, and I knew a month into it, I was like, wow, whew. Okay, I'm here. Uh, need to readjust and recalibrate on how I operate because I need to operate the way that they need me to operate. And that I need to have some more clarity in my questions and expectations of companies I want to work for and their team setups in my interviewing process before I take another role and another leap.
Right.
Which was beneficial because it was awesome because 10 months in, somebody reached out and was recruiting me, and I had a whole different list of questions for them about their expectations, their team structure, how
Yes.
this is that going to work, et cetera, which turned out to work out really well for me in that next role. But woo, man, sometimes be careful what you want because when you get it, you're like, oh gosh, I
Yeah.
totally did this to myself.
That's great. That's perfect. I love that.
You
Well,
know?
Andrea, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast today and being in the locker room today. It was so good. And hey, if you're listening out there, I would love. Here's this is a slow. I'm putting this podcast together. I look at you talk about comparison. There's a billion podcasts. And one of the reasons why I started the podcast was because I felt like I wanted to contribute what my experience is, and I can't compare my journey to any other, but I'm going to just start the journey, right?
Yeah.
I want to
Yep.
say, hey, I started. I've been thinking about it for years, and now, I think this is episode 16. So welcome to episode 16.
Woohoo! Thank you.
I look back, I'm like, that's 16 straight weeks of creating content, having interviews. And then I read this, the average length of podcast for podcasts is 1 to 10. Most podcasters bail between after not 1 to 10, 3 to 10. After 3 to 10 episodes, the majority of podcasters bail.
Well,
Like,
you've the
well,
average.
I,
You're at 16. Yes. Good for you. Well, thanks for having me, Breck. I appreciate it. And I really appreciate being in space with you. So thanks for the invitation. I love it.
Well, if this episode helped you, go over and click like, subscribe. I'd love to get to you know, like triple figure subscribers. That would be awesome one day. But until then, hey, I hope that this was helpful. And let's go out, let's stay curious, and let's be who we are called to be. Andrea, I'll have all the show notes and we'll have links to be able to, for the why, for all of that. So if you're interested in that, you can look for the show notes and we'll have all that for you. So, Andrea, thank you so much. Hey, until next week, have a great week. All right.
Awesome. Woo! Good conversation. Did I give you what you wanted?
Yes. Yeah. Very,
Cool.
very different from any other conversation that I've had on the podcast so far. The YOS operates like all of that. That's really good. I love it. So
Thanks.
hey,
I
thanks for
love
taking all the time. I
My
appreciate it.
pleasure. No worries. Thanks for the catch up. I feel like I'm finally coming out. Like I literally am going to be sending a few emails out to my list of like, if you think I've been behind the scenes this year and hiding, it is true. I was like, but I feel like I can come out now and I like yeah, we've still got some things going on, but like I said, I